Hello, hello, and welcome to the Salty Vapor. I am Chris Jordan, broadcasting to you from Richmond, Indiana, in the heart of these United States. And tonight, what we have is a review. It is a review of the Tobeco clone of the Derringer RDA. The Derringer has become a very popular little guy, and probably for good reason. We'll see how the clone stacks up, though. Decent vapor production. Take note of the vapor production because we're going to do the up close. I'm going to jerk this build out of here, and when we come back up top after the up close, you will not see vapor production anymore because it won't have a build on it. So as I'm vaping here in the prelude, just note the vapor production if you're interested in that sort of thing. The Derringer RDA clone by Tobeco. It is available on eciggity.com for $12.99. It is currently out of stock there. So let's do the description, and then I'll see if I can find it somewhere in stock for you. Eciggity is where I purchased mine. Decent price, $12.99 for a functioning RDA. You know, you can't really beat that. The product description that Eciggity provides says the Derringer RDA clone by Tobeco is a short and simple 3-post RDA. This RDA is one of the shortest available to give you the most compact vape setup. It has 3 interchangeable airflow holes on each side for either dual or single coil. Due to the compact size and deep well, it provides an especially flavorful and warm vape. The silver-plated brass contact pin is non-adjustable and is one shaft with the center post. And I can vouch for that fact. It comes with one Derringer RDA clone by Tobeco, one bag of extra screws, O-rings, and screwdriver. So a very simple setup. It came in one of those cheap, thin cardboard boxes that Tobeco clones frequently come in with just a standard little bag of O-rings and a screwdriver and some extra screws. So we're not really going to do an unboxing on this one. Very simple RDA, very straightforward. Vapor production, since we're not going to talk about that later, well, we will reiterate some things, but vapor production for such a small atomizer is good. And I've got this ridiculously long, I just don't have a drip tip short enough and small enough to make this RDA not look ridiculous. You know, I suppose I could tailpipe it with this little nubbin of a tip. I don't know, my lips feel a little close to those coils. It's so shallow, your coils are just right there anyway. So I'll use this ridiculous drip tip, but I've got some Looper My Animal in there right now. Flavor is very good. We'll talk about that more in the conclusion to this review. But for now, why don't we go down and dirty with the Derringer RDA clone by Tobeco. Take a closer look. Take a look at the build deck. I'm not going to do a build for you on this standard 3-post affair. Nothing too outrageous or interesting there to look at. But there are some innovative design features that go along with Tobeco, or not Tobeco, but Praxis, the original makers, designed to make it a very compact atomizer. So we'll go up close, down and dirty, take a look. I'll join in one. We are down and dirty, up close with the Derringer RDA clone by Tobeco, and I'll just show you the RDA top down here, minus the wonky drip tip that I have. That one's been taken off. So looking at the top here, it says Praxis Vaper's Derringer Atomizer. And let's talk about that for a second. I am 100% in the team logoless clone camp, because why is that necessary? You buy a clone, in my opinion, not to fool anybody, but because you want functionality of an authentic at a price that you can afford. But this, of course, is a logoed clone, which was at the point when I bought it the only one available. Not sure if they've come out with a logoless, say that 3 times real fast, clone as of yet. But this one definitely a logoed clone. Definitely not by Praxis Vapors. It's by Tobeco, and it's a shame, because if nothing else, like, I would like to see the authentic makers eventually get their names and logos protected, if nothing else. I'm thankful for clones, because I simply don't have the budget to spend $100+ the $100 neighborhood on atomizers. But I like to try different things. I like to report to you the quality of different clones and the functionality of different clones. So I am thankful for clones, but I do wish that they would leave the names and logos off. So that's that. Pulling the top cap off, you'll see we have this very messy, and I intentionally, not just because I'm lazy, but I intentionally left it messy to show you how messy this atomizer gets. That's the kind of airflow control ring that also serves as part of your juice well, because it's so compact. But certainly your airflow control ring there, and that pops off and is held in place by another O-ring. And there's your build deck in all of its glory. There's your relatively shallow juice well. By the time you get that ring on there, it is relatively deep. But does the ring hold all the juice in? We shall find out. Well, not much of a mystery, since you saw all the juice around the ring there. But looking at some features of the build deck here, you have just a standard 3-post RDA affair here. One interesting thing are these slots that are in your negative post, but not in your positive post. And it's the same on the authentic. They, for some reason, put these slots in the side post with very little explanation as to what they were thinking there. I'm guessing that you can put, this allows you to put some crazy builds in there and some larger wire. I've just been using it with my standard 24 gauge dual coil. But if they were making it amenable to, more intricate, thicker gauge wires and more intricate builds, more complicated builds, why wouldn't they make this guy also slotted? Doesn't make good logical sense to me, but there you have it. You can get an idea of the juice well depth here. This is a micro screwdriver, one of the smaller ones, but it's pretty shallow until you get that airflow ring on there. Then obviously it becomes significantly deeper, but juice will just leak out of those holes, and I suspect leak from the O-rings as well. You see, while we're up close, I'll show you what this RDA does to your mods. It does that. It just leaves that lovely juice ring all over your mods, and that just drives me crazy. You can see there's also some juice down in my 510 That's just awesome. So with that, let's go ahead and go back up top, talk about some pros and cons, talk about my recommendations, and go from there. See you in one moment. Up top, guys, we are here with the Derringer RDA clone by Tobeco. I've currently got it on my Sage mod by Beyond Vape. I'm going to go ahead and take it off because we're going to talk about that in a second. But just so there's no confusion, I'll be vaping on my Arctic tank, on my Hexome here, for the second part of this review, as my Derringer no longer has a build in it. Okay, why don't we talk about some pros and some cons of this tiny little atomizer. First pro, excellent flavor. Just excellent flavor. Nice warm vape. If you like a warm vape, I could see how that could go into either column. But you know, I kind of like a warm vape, so it's in my pro column. Good airflow, given the that the airflow holes are not all that big. It has nice airflow. It just kind of, it feels nice. As you saw in the intro, has nice vapor production. And finally, it's very easy to build on. No problems with screws cutting your Kinthal, anything like that. Just your builds just go in nice and easy. Dual, like I said, I use a dual coil 24 gauge. Don't even have to do a center post build on this. Just nice and easy. Throw them in and you're ready to vape. That brings us to some cons. It is a leaky atomizer with a capital L. It is a messy atomizer with a capital M. And those are kind of its downfall, for me anyway. And for some folks, if you're not bothered by a leaky, messy atomizer, then totally discount this part of the review. I am. I use primarily, regulated mods. Don't want that e-liquid getting down into my chipset. Don't want it getting on my batteries. I'm a stickler for leaky, I just don't like the leakiness or the messiness. I don't like, every time you take this top cap off because of condensation and because of e-liquid that manages to get out through these little holes, you end up getting e-liquid all over your fingers. So the entire time you're dripping, you have sticky fingers. Definitely not a fan in that regard. It feels very cheaply made. The machining is relatively poor. The screws are wobbly and don't seem entirely right. Everything just feels very cheaply made. But come on, it's $10.50. What do you expect? So, would I recommend it? This is a tough one. I guess my first recommendation would be that if you have it in your budget and if it's available, I think the Authentic would be an interesting purchase. Simply because I think the Authentic would still have the great vapor production, the great flavor, the great airflow, the warmth of the vapor, if you like that. I think all those things would carry through on the Authentic. But I think, given the reviews I've seen, I think the O-rings are better. I think the machining is better, and so on. But I think the Authentic is about $85-$95, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't have that in my budget for that particular atomizer. You may not have it in yours, so which is why I do these clone reviews. Would I rather be like some of the other reviewers? I wouldn't rather be like that, because I think it's important to the vape community that for folks that have budgets like mine, it's important that you're going to buy the clones anyway. You might as well have the information. But would I rather have the authentics? Absolutely. Would I rather support authentic mod and RDA makers? Absolutely. But it is what it is. This clone is $10.50. The authentic is $85 or so. You can literally buy more than 8 of these for the same price. And so if it's cheaply made, but if it breaks, you can buy another one. But if you have a chance to get your hands on an original, I think the usability factor will be so much better that it might be worth it. A quick tip for those of you who are bothered by the leaky, messy atomizers and don't want it on your regulated mod. One thing I found that breathes new life into my leakier RDAs is that I'll throw them on my Sage mod by Beyond Vape, and there are surely other mods out there with similar designs, but this thing has just this nice deep juice collection cup, and I always feel like and from my experience, like the juice doesn't get to places that it shouldn't get. It goes into that juice collection cup, and it's so deep you could never leak that much juice to fill it up and cause yourself problems. But it doesn't ever get into the batteries, and that's really all you have to worry about in a mech mod because there's no chipset. But yeah, with my regulated mods, using it something like the RDA, the Derringer RDA by Tobeco, it's a concern and it's a constant worry, and I just don't like to do it because it's so leaky and so messy. So I would recommend this with the qualification that if you just can't handle leaky, messy RDAs, it's not for you. But for $10.50, you get a relatively decent approximation of the Derringer RDA, cheaper build, but it still maintains very good flavor, very good airflow, very good vapor production, and a nice warm vape. So kind of those central features that if you watch other reviews of the authentic, those central positives I found are still present in this particular clone version. But again, that's assuming that you can handle the leaky messiness of it. So that's about all I have. Thanks for joining us. Next up on the chopping block is going to be another clone, and I'm not going to do all clones. I have an Aeolus on the way, an Aeolus RDA on the way from Synthetic Cloud. It's coming snail mail, which is unfortunate. That was the only shipping option. I would have chosen priority mail in a heartbeat, but I've got it coming. It's gonna probably do a first look on that, do some first impressions, and then we'll do a full review after I have it for a few weeks. But the next full review is going to be another clone. It's going to be a clone of the Kennedy RDA. Not a very faithful clone, and I'm not even sure what company makes it, because there's, as we talked about in one of my other videos, this is the package it came in, with no name anywhere on the box, no indication of who makes it, but nevertheless, it's a thing, and we're going to take a look at it, and that'll be our next full review. But for now, thank you for joining us. If you like what you see, please subscribe. Check out my vlogs. try to do a lot of advocacy stuff on those. We'll have one of those coming up this Tuesday. So, but thanks again for joining us on the Salty Vapor. I'm Chris Jordan, signing off.